Alright, so what's good, y'all? Apparently you see that I'm making a video like this. For the most part, I'm gonna try and do this once a week. See how y'all feel about it. I'll see how it goes. And then yeah, we'll kind of move on from there. So basically this video and the ones in the future will serve as like I guess recaps or I guess reviews for like weekly shows or things that we kind of view during the week. Basically, if you have any shows that you feel like you kind of want broken down a little bit further, then we'll do that for the week. Because you know, for the fall season is coming around the corner, so you have TV shows like Black Lightning, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl. You're gonna have some new TV shows. Batwoman. We're gonna have the Watchmen series that's gonna be coming. There's a couple movies I think that's supposed to be being released as well. The Joker movie is in a couple weeks, so I'm pretty sure you want to look out for that because we're gonna have a nice little discussion about that. But overall, I'm kind of going to use this as a way to kind of go back and forth and I guess kind of have that discussion with you as personable as possible, where you know, me being here in this video and you know, just having a discussion, basically you leaving your comments, you leaving anything you have to say about any of these TV show discussions or anything like that, and we'll kind of move forward from there. On a weekly basis, we'll kind of, you know, keep kind of changing up the topic based on the comments that I get, the interactions that I get, and we'll do this on a weekly basis. And then sometimes I'll have people come on, maybe it'll be like a podcast, it'll be in that kind of format sometimes, and that way we can get like different perspectives coming into a singular point. But give me 1 second, because like I said, I don't do this scripted per se. For the most part, all this comes straight off this dome right here. But I have some points that I've written down, and I'm just gonna go through my phone and kind of sort through that. Now, this particular video, I want to discuss the Joker movie. I'm pretty sure, like, basically, this is all public information. You can Google this. I'm gonna say, you know, obviously the Joker movie is directed by Todd Phillips, produced by Todd Phillips, Bradley Cooper, and Emma Kaskoff. So, and it's also written by, you know, Todd Phillips and Scott Silver, and this is obviously based on a DC character, the Joker. Obviously, that's stuff that we already know for the most part, because you know, that's pretty much what the chatter is when it comes to movies. Who directed it, who wrote it, and who's acting, you know, all that stuff. You know, you don't want to get into that. Now, what I'm basically going to be diving into is obviously it's the premise for the most part. Remember, this takes place in 1981 apparently, so at this point I believe Bruce Wayne is still pretty young. He has interactions with Thomas Wayne, I think, based on the trailer, so that's what makes this whole movie really exciting. So basically, he's a failed stand-up comedian that turns to a life of crime and chaos in Gotham City. So we can kind of dive into that a little bit if you really wanted to. For the most part, when we come to the Joker origin, there really hasn't been a consistent Joker origin. There's been a lot of confusion. In the New 52, we discovered that the Joker was, I guess, a being or someone who has always been around, who has kept himself young with the Lazarus Pits, and also we find out that there's 3 different versions of the Joker. You know, the Killing Joke gave a version of the Joker that's actually very similar to the Joker that's in this movie, where, you know, he likes to make people laugh in the Killing Joke for the most part. He started out as someone who really enjoyed bringing joy to people, but then, you know, just like the movie said, all it takes is one bad day for the most part. So this is the part that I kind of want to get into when it comes to the Joker and what the movie kind of will entail for the most part. I did make a video saying that this is going to be one of those situations where they dive into a DC Black Label for the most part, where they're going to dive into the more rated R kind of aspect of comics, where they're going to kind of explain like, okay, here's the origin of these characters, and we're going to take a more darker approach, or at least they're going to take a more of an adult approach when it comes to explaining these characters. Because even though DC Comics, you know, do create comics for, you know, teenagers, young adults, young kids, all that stuff, for the most part, a lot of these stories, when it comes to the concepts like, you know, the Court of Owls, or even the Watchmen, or even different various Justice League Darks and stuff like that, a lot of them have very darker adult tones to them, which a lot of kids probably not just simply wouldn't understand, but don't quite have the, I guess, experience to really be able to see things from that perspective. And I'm talking about more rated R things like, you know, I guess sexual related content, but also these kids nowadays are a little bit out of pocket when it comes to situations like that, so who's to say. Anyways, for the most part, this origin is very similar to the whole one bad day situation, the whole the Killing Joke situation, where but the point is, like, this character is actually never existed. If I were to search through my notes right now, for the most part, they are using the Joker's name. Well, the Joker's name actually in this movie is called Arthur Fleck, and I've done my research. I don't care what anyone tells me. I've looked everywhere, and there is nowhere in DC Comics where Arthur Fleck was a real name. I've heard of Jack Napier, but no, there's no Arthur Fleck. There's none of that. So basically, this is a brand new name that they chose for him, for the most part. So I think what they're doing is they're combining some of the origins or what information we know about the Joker for the most part, where primarily a lot of this is coming from the Killing Joke in terms of his origin, where it seemed like he just had a bad day, but then that bad day turned into like a bad week, which probably turned into a bad month, and then we kind of got the Joker, where he already was someone who mentally was not completely wrapped very well, and then being in Gotham City in 1981 probably was a very horrible place, because Gotham City today is just as bad, if not worse. So I think they're probably going to take that aspect and kind of, take little bits of the Killing Joke, and then ultimately they're going to use it and then create a new origin, at least when it comes to the DCEU. And then I hear there's some rumor that they might tie this into the whole the new Batman with the guy who plays Twilight, who was Edward. Like I said, I'm very bad with names, but forgive me, that's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, so this is pretty much what makes this interesting. Now, I've always wanted to know, like, what is it about Gotham itself that makes it such a terrible place? Because remember, if you've seen the Dark Knight movies, basically the trilogy, a lot of this has to do with the fact that even Ra's al Ghul felt that Gotham City was toxic. And we see this kind of consistent in the comic books for the most part. You see this, in the Silver Age of comics. You see this in the Golden Age of comics. You see this in, the New 52. You see this in Rebirth. Gotham has always been a city of horrible people. And it seems like no matter what superhero comes there, in some way, shape, or form, it corrupts them. Now, we found out about some new heroes that came into the DC universe in New 52 called Gotham Girl and Gotham. Now, what makes this interesting is because they had good intentions. They actually had powers that was actually pretty similar or relatively on par with Superman. And for some reason, being in Gotham, all these events that are taking place in Gotham, they spiraled completely out of control. Like, Batman has the worst villains I've ever seen. Now, don't get me wrong, Lex Luthor is a bad guy. He'll do just about anything to achieve his goals, but there's just something about Gotham and their villains where it's just like they have no remorse. It's like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's in the drinking water, I don't know if it's in the air, but something is going down in Gotham that's just not okay. So I'm interested in seeing the take that they put on Gotham. Like, what makes Gotham so toxic? What makes Gotham so crazy? What caused the Joker to spiral into this person that we know him as today, as the madman that we know him as today? But I'm excited for that, actually. I'm looking forward to the Joker movie. I'm looking forward to a lot of things. I'm looking forward to Black Lightning Season 3 as well, another DC show, obviously. For the most part, I think they're doing pretty well. I think they're doing pretty good in general for the show. I have very minor complaints, but it's a CW for the most part. I just hope that they don't take the same route that they did with The Flash, because I enjoyed the first 2 seasons of The Flash. I'm still enjoying the show, but it's not like as good as it was the first 2 seasons. So it's just that whole situation, and the constant speedsters, and they're trying to do fan service as well, where it's like they want to introduce things like Godspeed and Red Death, but there's nothing to really introduce them on a foundation. Like, for the most part, Red Death it's a new character, actually. Red Death is a new character. He should not be introduced yet, because that means you have to introduce Batman, which means you have to introduce the Dark Multiverse, and it's just that's a whole Dark Knight's Metal situation. Godspeed as well. It's just too much, too much. But overall, I'm looking forward to the fall season. Like I said, there's no real big shows to recap right now. I'm watching Titans. I'm up to date on Titans. I've seen all the Swamp Thing. I'm enjoying Titans, but like I said, let me know if you want me to cover Titans, because right now they're not doing anything too extravagant. The storyline itself is not super deep, but for the most part, I'm enjoying it. And as things kind of progress, we'll move along. And for those of you out there who said the Bruce Wayne that they selected for season 2 is too old, it actually makes a lot more sense. I'm going to end it on this note. Think about it. He had Dick Grayson since he was approximately about Jason Todd's age, maybe even younger. Actually, he was younger. About younger than Jason Todd's age. So imagine Dick Grayson at 13, 12, 13, about that age when he lost his parents. Now you see him now. Jason Todd is relatively new for the most part. You can assume he's been there for approximately about a year, give or take. Now Dick Grayson is in his 20s. That means Bruce Wayne, even if he found him, let's say Bruce Wayne kind of met up with I guess Dick Grayson when he was, like I said, 13, and then Bruce Wayne himself was like maybe like 24, 25. Now that's just me making an assumption. And at this point, based on the way how things are going when it comes to his age, I'm pretty sure he had Dick Grayson way more, because he looks like he's like in his mid to late 20s. So that's about 14 years. So if Bruce Wayne was 25, 26 when he kind of got in contact with Dick Grayson, then imagine 14 years later. He's going to be a middle-aged man. So of course he will be someone who's a little older. You're not going to see him. The comics don't make sense. How you have like 4 or 5 different Robins, and then they're all basically, most of them are adults for the most part, and you're still only like 35? That doesn't make any sense. But besides that, let me know what you think about these TV shows. Like I said, this video was more of a rant kind of situation. But let me know what you think. And if you're new to the channel, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe. Leave your comments down below. And I hope to see you later on.